I'm sitting outside because I feel very grounded out here right now. It's just sprinkling just the very like least little bit, um, which I find to be so calming and cleansing. And the temperature is kind of like, it's not like super cold. And I'm just finding myself to be very grounded to have this like conversation with you because I've been thinking about this quite a bit in depth, especially since the last files dropped. And I have some things that I want to share, but I don't know. So first and foremost, I found myself judging myself last night. Because I was judging myself because I felt like, am I too wrapped up in what's happening? Because the first thing I always tell the women that I'm coaching is that what you focus on grows, right? This is just the nature of energy, how we attract things in. So the more we focus on something, the more that it becomes, like the more abundant it becomes. And so I was like, am I focusing too much on wanting to know what's happening and consuming the information and being angry about the information that I'm receiving? And then I wanted to step outside of that for a second, because whenever we're judging ourselves, it's always coming from a place of the ego. The soul has no judgment. The soul just understands that what is. And we are all having a human experience. And so the reason why I want to come on here and I want to talk to you about this specifically is because I think that there's a lot of performance in spirituality. And there is a program around spirituality and how spirituality looks and how spirituality is supposed to act and how we're supposed to be as a spiritual person or a leader or an enlightened human. And part of what I want to do is I want to show you how I use spirituality to be a grounded person that creates freedom and creates abundance and wealth and purpose and meaning and confidence in my life. And that the first thing that I always will say with spirituality is that we're not disconnected from being human. We're not disconnected from our experience of humanness. And so there's nothing wrong with being angry or being sad or being depressed or having emotions in spirituality. In fact, true spirituality is the integration of all emotions and the experience of all emotions in a grounded container with truth and love. And one of the things that is really frustrating to me that I'm seeing a lot in the spirituality space right now is a lot of avoidance of the shadows. And I think that might be contributing to why I feel so, what's the word I want to say in this particular space? I almost feel like it is a duty of mine. Like it is a duty of mine to consume the information because I don't feel like there's enough people consuming the information. And it's not to come from a place of rage, or a place of like a continued separation, but more of a place of understanding that we can never overcome our shadows if we don't understand our shadows to begin with. And true spirituality lies in the ability to sit in the shadow, to see the shadow, to experience the shadow, to allow the shadow to come to light, and to then process and integrate that. Because we can never change our reality if we don't understand the limits of our current circumstance. That's just the basics of it. That's like 101 in my experience. I talk about when we talk about creating a better reality for us and jumping timelines and all the like fancy words that like new age spirituality wants to use in quantum leaping and all of that, is that we can never change our reality if we don't understand the limits and the program of the reality that we're currently living in. It requires us to go from being unconscious to conscious, and we cannot go from unconscious to unconscious to conscience in avoidance, in looking away, and not sitting with the truth. Now, in that same breath, it is very important that you understand that when we sit with the truth, it is not to torture us. It's not to do that in an ungrounded fashion. It's so important to stay grounded in the information that you're taking in, and to allow your nervous system to take it in and still feel safe. And so this is why I'm sitting outside, because I want to have this conversation in a very grounded way. For me, being outside is very grounding. Being in the rain is very grounding, right? It's very reminiscent of, okay, I'm not going to let the shadow consume me, but I also don't want to turn a blind eye to the shadow. And it's like really frustrating to me when I see a lot of people refusing to acknowledge what's happening, especially in the spirituality space. And I think that that's coming from a place of powerlessness. And I just want this to be a reminder to you that you are not powerless. We are not powerless. We are all volunteers in this particular timeline to experience exactly what's happening, because we cannot change what we continue to tolerate. And what we have been doing by turning a blind eye to all of the shadows is tolerating it. And so we have to see it for what it is in its truth in order for us to understand that, or it's not understand, in order for us to choose an alternate reality. And we cannot choose an alternate reality without understanding the current one that's limiting us. So I was judging myself last night, and I was like, am I allowing myself to sit in this too much? Am I allowing myself to get angry in this too much? And then I thought about it for a little bit. And I do feel as though it is a responsibility of mine to continue to consume the information as a filter to transcend it. Because we can't transcend what we refuse to acknowledge. And in this lifetime and in all lifetimes, I will always stand for the freedom of all people, but specifically women. This is not the first lifetime where I have incarnated in a density where I have to be an advocate for women, and to be an advocate for women and to stand up for myself and children and the women in my community, and to continue to be a leader and a mentor and a coach and a guide and spiritual in a space. I have to say that I refuse to not speak about, and to not transmute, and to not connect with what's happening in our current reality. Because in order for us to choose something different, we have to stop tolerating and looking a blind eye to the things that have been occurring right in front of our face. And so the more that we can allow those shadows to come to light, the more that we can allow the light to take over. Because one thing that is very important for you to understand is that once we are face to face with shadows, with our darkness, with what's happening right now, is because light has already come in to shine a light on what's happening. Things that are dark, that remain in the darkness, are never acknowledged because it's dark. Once light has started to integrate and started to win, then the light will shine on the darkness that needs to be changed, that needs to be created. That I'm like at a loss for words right now. But essentially, what I'm trying to say to you is that, first and foremost, don't judge yourself on how you are consuming and how you are feeling through this process. I think the ego wants to judge and wants to tell you that we shouldn't be feeling a certain way, or that this shouldn't be happening, or it's too much or it's too little. But I want you to know that there's no place for judgment in this space, first and foremost. Second of all, you are not powerless in this situation. I know that consuming it and then saying like, what's going to happen? Where's the accountability going to come from? Detach from the outcome of what's happening and sit with allowing the information to create change in your being, because change happens on an individual level. The change and the person that we decide to be because of the information that we know is going to ripple through. It's going to ripple through the collective. And so the change that you can make at home is speaking your truth, staying in your empowerment, refusing to be silenced, refusing to be controlled, saying no instead of saying yes. In circumstances where you typically have said yes, set a boundary. And these are the little things that we can do as women to help bring strength to ourselves independently and to all women collectively. I just really want you to know that you're not powerless in this situation. I know it feels that way because you're like, what's going to happen? Why is nothing happening? But the more that we come together as a collective as women, the more that this will never be able to happen again, because we are all aware of what can happen when power goes unchecked. And so that's the whole point of this, is for us to sit with the darkness and the shadow so that we understand what happens when we don't allow us to see what's actually happening. I'm not sure if that makes you feel any better. I think that in this lifetime and all lifetimes, I will continue to speak up, because being silenced in our truth is the first way where we become oppressed and obedient to the person and the people and the program that want to continue to control us. If you have questions about this, let me know. I'm not sure if that made any sense whatsoever, but I just want to say, like, don't come from a place of judgment. And I'm not going to stop being silenced about this, or I'm not going to be silenced about this, and I'm going to continue to speak up about it. And also, if you're feeling overwhelmed, nervous system safety is the number one rule in transmutation. So going outside, putting your feet in the dirt, dancing, laughing, watching a comfort movie or a comfort show, taking a shower, taking a bath, EFT tapping, meditating, breathing, sound healing. Those are all ways that you can ground yourself. Crafting, gardening, anything that connects your body back into the present moment and allows yourself and signals to your body that you are safe through this time period is what's going to help you to call your power back in while continuing to move through and transmute the darkness that we're going through right now. But I want to end on a positive note, and I want to let you know that, again, I know that I touched on this before. Light is already winning because we are able to see what the darkness that's existing in our society. Light is what shines observance, or what shines a light on the darkness, and what allows us to see its existence. And what allows us to see its existence already tells us that it's dying, because us just seeing it for what it is and its truth allows us to pull it out and to change it, because we are no longer going to tolerate it. So I hope this message finds you well and you understand where I'm coming from this. Stay grounded, protect your nervous system, take deep breaths, and don't let anyone silence or control you any longer.